Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Harbor Community Meeting. It's the 25th of March. As always, this is a recorded meeting, so please adhere to the CNCF Code of Conduct. I have a few updates I want to provide to you. So the first one, and you know what, we're a small set of folks here. I'll share my screen. So the first thing I want to talk about is the Harbor graduation. So in our roadmap towards graduating today, we started the last step, and that's essentially getting SIG Security to approve the graduation of Harbor. If you guys are familiar with the project, we've done a couple of things lately, not lately, in the last 6 months. We've had 2 security pen tests against Harbor. So we had one that was sponsored by VMware and one sponsored by CNCF. And then as part of graduating, SIG Security is responsible for basically looking at Harbor from a security lens, looking at we made the right investments or protecting secrets the right way, and so on and so forth. As a result of that, we filed this issue, which is issue 369 in SIG Security. And today it was the second level of presentations with the team. Presented with them in early March as well, and now we have a whole lot of folks that you can see here that they liked our presentation and they're volunteering themselves to come in and participate in the security assessment of Harbor. So you can see here that there's quite a bit of folks, and there's actually a VMware guy that could have conflict as well. So we identified the lead security reviewer, that's Andres Vega, and then Justin Campos is going to be his shadow, and a whole bunch of observers. Overall good stuff. If you look at the document, this is a 30-page, but there's some pictures and stuff in here that basically walks you through the Harbor through the security lens. And it's a pretty good document to look at if any of you are interested in security. It goes through everything from configuration to setup, attacker modifications, all of the security vectors that could come into play here, how we secure different things like secure certificates, keys, secrets, and you know, our security disclosure process, our security policy, and things like that. It's a good read if this is something that's interesting to you. If you have comments, obviously post them on the document. Then the next topic on our discussion, I want to give you guys a little bit of update on Harbor 2.0. Our goal is to ship Harbor 2.0 in April of 2020. So in literally about 4 weeks, our goal is to ship. The big anchor feature of that release is the OCI refactoring. So essentially Harbor becomes OCI compliant, will support things like OPAs, operators, images, home charts, everything managed as an artifact in Harbor. And then all of the different features of Harbor will still work. So for example, if you're looking about scanning, tag retention, quotas, replication, all of that will work and has been verified to work with the OCI artifact. Some other features of 2.0 that basically we're looking into is the integration with Trivy as a scanner that has been completed. So now Trivy is the built-in scanner for Harbor 2.0. When I say built-in, I should say built-in and default. Claire is still included, but Trivy is now the default. And the Aqua team just this week announced the changing in the licensing for Trivy to be Apache 2, so that they can enable us to ship with Trivy. There's a couple of blog announcements on that as well. Outside of OCI, Harbor 2.0 will also include the ability for all the Harbor components to communicate with each other using TLS. This was not a requirement by SIG Security, but I think SIG Security will find that a very good addition to Harbor. So now, beyond the front end for Harbor, you can provide Harbor with a certificate, and all the different core services can communicate over SSH. Over TLS. And then the last part of Harbor 2.0, and this is more opportunistic, we're adding some webhook enhancements. So think of more events, more flexible configuration, and the sending notification to Slack that I showed you guys last week. And I don't know who was here last week. Tian, I don't know. I think you were here last week, Tianon, or not?
No, I think I missed last week.
You missed last week? Okay, yeah. So last week I showed how you can have webhooks not only send events to HTTP, but they can send events to Slack now. So we're hoping to productize that and get it ready for Harbor 2.0, but that's opportunistic. If it doesn't meet the quality bar, it might not get in. If you're following some of the Harbor social media, like our Twitter account or our even Slack accounts, we've announced the Harbor operator this week. And essentially, the team at OVH Cloud has been working with us for quite a while now to develop an operator on top of Harbor that essentially can manage multiple Harbor stacks and can do some of the basic lifecycle management for Harbor, like for example, creation, updating, deletion of Harbor, and then more importantly, it can do that for Harbor Core, Notary, Chart Museum, Docker Registry, the UI, but it will not control things like PostgreSQL or Redis or some of the object storage. So I think of this as the version 1 core scanner for Harbor, and you know that's been contributed. It's part of the Harbor project repos right now, and we welcome you to go and try it. I think it's a foundational step in improving how we deploy Harbor out there at customer environments and how we manage the Harbor. So we're very appreciative of the team at OVH Cloud for doing that work. And not only did they finish that work, but now they are a big part of our Harbor community. Pierre and his team are both maintainers now in Harbor. So and they basically will help us kind of through the next phase of basically enabling the operator pattern on Harbor. We also have 3 community members that are helping build an operator on top of this OVH operator that will install Postgres, Redis, and other components in an AJ fashion. Sorry, by the way, on the names earlier, it's Pierre and Jeremy, so I messed up on the name. The last part, I kind of want to show you a couple of slides here on the operator pattern and where we're going here. Give me 1 second. Let me know if you can see the screen now. So this is an architecture slide that Steven Zhao did, one of the architects of Harbor. And essentially, he's talking about some of the differences between a core operator for Harbor as well as a cluster operator. And that's kind of the distinction that I just mentioned a little bit earlier ago. So the core operator is what OVH Cloud has basically developed and contributed to Harbor, and that's going to handle some of the basic Harbor components like the core services as well as the lifecycle management. And then the cluster operator is going to come in and take advantage of Postgres and Redis and MinIO and other things to enable a complete lifecycle management of an entire Harbor installation in a Kubernetes cluster. Looking at this from an architecture standpoint, when we look at Harbor, then basically this gets to define and deploy all of those different controllers that basically become the building blocks for the different services or core services in Harbor. So our persistent storage could sit on a MinIO instance. The database could sit on a PostgreSQL controller, and then the cache could sit on a Redis failover cluster. From a roadmap standpoint, we're at this point right now that we're right here after the second kind of swim lane. So it's OVH operator has been open source, the base version has been contributed, and the Harbor team has been working on improving that. And the next step is getting that to a 1.0 release time, and that as well as continuing to work on the Harbor cluster operator that I just mentioned. That's basically where we are right now. And that's it. That's all the content that I had for our meeting today. Any questions or concerns? All right, next up is Amanda, and she's going to present us the 3V scanner adapter. I'm just kidding, Amanda. Well, Amanda, you can't do that. So, by the way, if any of you have missed a couple of meetings in the past, we did showcase 3V as a built-in scanner, and it's in the recorded presentations for under the CNCF Harbor playlist on YouTube. So, if you go to our goharbor.io, actually, speaking, since we have a brand new website, I'm going to go back there right now and show you that. So, going back to our website here. If you go at the beginning of the website and you go under community, we have our playlist on YouTube, so you can catch up on that presentation where Daniel from Agua presented 3V as a built-in scanner. Now, I want to show you guys one more thing, and this was added literally yesterday. Now you can, not only you have the full documentation of Harbor in the docs built into the website, but now you can search. So for example, if you want to search about permissions, you can type permissions, and then Angolia has indexed our entire website, and you can basically go find the topic that you're interested in, and it will direct you there. I think that's a tremendous savings in time in terms of basically working with our documentation, and it's going to save everybody time as they're looking for things in Harbor. So great work by the CNCF team that helped us kind of enable this. Cool. Any questions, concerns, anything from anybody? What do you guys want to hear? We have a shy bunch today. Tiano, I know that your team is looking to integrate Harbor into your stack that you guys are working on. Would you be able to kind of take a look at our operator that we have just open source and see if that's something that could create more flexibility into the lifecycle management of what you guys were looking to do with Harbor?
Yeah, we'll definitely take a look. I don't know if we're settled on using Kubernetes because Kubernetes is kind of heavy, but we'll definitely take a look and see what you've done. Absolutely, we'll review it.
So today you guys are primarily using Docker for those appliances that you guys have?
Yeah.
Got it.
Containers, because it's just an appliance. There's no reason to go to the overkill that Kubernetes is just to run a registry, right?
If you can tell us, what do you guys use for routing or like load balancing? Do you just basically use basic Docker constructs for that? Or do you have something in the front door?
Depends on the scale. For small scale deployments, yeah, we just use Docker routing either with Swarm's native load balancing that's naive load balancing, or we use just direct port mapping if it's really small scale. For larger scale, we put something like Nginx in front.
Yeah, I was going to ask you right now if you basically throw Nginx in as a container and just have that do it. Okay, got it.
And TLS handoff is a lot easier to do in Nginx too. So
excellent, got it. Cool. Well, yeah, take a look at the operator, and if that's something that's interesting to you guys, we'll love to hear your thoughts or work with you.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll take a look.
All right. If there's no questions, no concerns, we can probably give everybody back 10 minutes. All right. Goodbye, everybody. Stay safe in this climate, and don't go crazy at home. And we'll see you all in a couple of weeks. Bye.
Have a good one.